First contact deception. Captain Elena Martinez stood motionless before the quantum display, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she studied the approaching vessels. The alien fleet sparkled like distant diamonds against the void, their crystalline ships catching the light of Sol as they crossed Neptune's orbit. 17 vessels in perfect formation, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. Or so they thought. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. The bridge of the U.S. Prometheus hummed with quiet efficiency, its crew trained for this very day. Alien fleet maintaining their course, Captain. Lieutenant James Chen reported from his station. Their energy signatures suggest they're running at full capacity. They clearly want to make an impression. Elena allowed herself a small smile. The aliens, calling themselves the Luminarch Collective, had broadcast their arrival with all the subtlety of a supernova. Their messages spoke of upliftment, of guiding humanity into a grand galactic community. Their condescension was barely concealed beneath layers of diplomatic courtesy. What they didn't know, what no one beyond Earth's inner circle knew, was that humanity had not been idle during its centuries of apparent solitude. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, hidden in the shadows of Saturn's rings, and scattered throughout the asteroid belt, humanity's true technological achievements lay waiting. "Dr. Patel, are the quantum masks holding?" Elena asked, turning to the ship's chief scientist. Aisha Patel nodded, her holographic interface dancing with complex equations. "Perfect containment, Captain. As far as their sensors can tell, we're nothing but a small research outpost on Deimos. The Prometheus might as well be invisible." The Prometheus, humanity's masterpiece, a vessel that broke every rule the Luminarch thought they knew about physics. Its quantum-folded spaces contained enough firepower to level a continent, yet its true nature remained hidden behind layers of technology that the aliens had never even theorized possible. "Message from Fleet Command," Communications Officer Rodriguez announced. "Operation Humble Truth is greenlit. We are authorized to proceed with the reception plan." Elena straightened her midnight blue uniform. For 3 generations, humanity had prepared for this moment. They had watched the stars, intercepted distant transmissions, and learned. They had discovered that the galaxy was not the peaceful federation of their dreams, but a hierarchy of power where the strong commanded and the weak obeyed. "Send the welcome message," she ordered. "Keep it appropriately primitive. Let them think they're dealing with children taking their first steps into space." The message they transmitted was carefully crafted. Simple radio waves, binary code, basic mathematical concepts. The kind of message a young species would send, desperately reaching out to their first alien contact. The response came quickly. The Luminarch's transmission was wrapped in layers of sophisticated protocols, a deliberate display of technological superiority. Their holographic emissary appeared on the bridge, a tall, luminescent being with features that seemed to shift like starlight on water. "People of Earth," the being spoke, its words automatically translated by their systems. "We come in peace, bearing gifts of knowledge and advancement. Your species has been chosen to join the Luminarch Collective. We will guide you from your crude technology into true civilization." Elena felt her crew tense at the thinly veiled insult, but they maintained their discipline. Everything was proceeding according to plan. "We are honored," she responded, playing her role perfectly. "We welcome your wisdom and guidance." The aliens' features rippled with satisfaction. "Prepare your leaders for our arrival. We will begin your assessment and integration immediately." As the transmission ended, Elena's expression hardened. "Status of the quantum arsenal. Armed and ready, Captain. All systems nominal." She nodded, watching the alien fleet grow larger on their screens. "Let them come. Let them think they're dealing with primitives barely out of their gravity well. And when the moment is right." She turned to face her crew, seeing the same determined expression on every face. "We'll show them that humanity doesn't need uplifting. We'll show them exactly what we've become." The Prometheus waited in its perfect hiding spot, a wolf in sheep's clothing, as humanity prepared to reveal that they weren't the primitive species the Luminarch expected to find. They were something far more dangerous. They were equals who had achieved their advancement on their own terms, and they would never bow to false gods from the stars. The power within. The Luminarch delegation's shuttle pierced Earth's atmosphere like a falling star, its crystalline surface refracting sunlight in dazzling patterns. From her position in the Geneva reception chamber, Elena watched the display of technological prowess with carefully concealed amusement. The aliens certainly had a flair for theatrics. Admiral Chen's voice whispered through her neural link. Operation status. Proceeding as expected. Elena subvocalized, her lips barely moving. They're putting on quite a show. The shuttle landed with impossible grace, its crystal structure seemingly flowing like liquid as it settled. 3 Luminarch emerged, their bodies wrapped in what appeared to be living light. The tallest among them, who had introduced himself as High Ambassador Xerxes, approached the human delegation. Your world is. He paused, his features rippling in what Elena had learned was their expression of polite disdain. Quaint. We see much potential for improvement. Dr. Patel, standing beside Elena, smiled diplomatically. We're eager to learn from your advanced civilization, High Ambassador. The next hours were a carefully choreographed dance. The Luminarch toured Earth's most advanced facilities that had been specially constructed to appear exactly as advanced as humanity wanted to seem. Not too primitive, but nothing that would raise suspicion. It was during their inspection of the Global Defense Center that the facade began to crack. High Ambassador Xerxes paused before a holographic display of Earth's orbital defense network. His crystalline features sharpened, taking on an edge Elena hadn't seen before. Interesting, he said, his voice carrying a new tone. These defense platforms, they utilize quantum entanglement principles. Elena felt the shift in the room's atmosphere. This was coming sooner than expected. A fortunate discovery, Dr. Patil offered smoothly. We recently managed to stabilize small-scale quantum effects. Indeed. Xerxes turned, his form now radiating barely concealed hostility. Yet our scans detect no quantum signature from these platforms. In fact, his eyes swept the room. We detect numerous inconsistencies in what you've shown us. Elena straightened, dropping the submissive posture she'd maintained all day. Perhaps, High Ambassador, you're not asking the right questions. The 2 other Luminarch moved to flank their leader. We have been tolerant of your deceptions, humans, Xerxes said, his voice hardening. We assumed they were born of primitive fear, but now, energy began to curl around his form. Now we must insist on truth. The truth. Elena smiled, activating her neural link. Across the solar system, hidden systems began powering up. The truth is that humanity has never needed your guidance, High Ambassador. We've been watching your kind for decades, learning, preparing. Xerxes' form flared with light. You dare to challenge the Luminarch? Your species is barely out of its cradle. The air shimmered as quantum fields activated, revealing the room's true nature. Advanced holographic interfaces sprang to life around them, showing the real extent of Earth's defenses. And in orbit, the Prometheus shed its invisibility cloak, its massive form casting a shadow over the Luminarch fleet. Our cradle. Elena's voice carried steel now. While you were busy playing gods, humanity was breaking the boundaries of physics. Those primitive defense platforms you scanned. Decoys. Our real capabilities. She gestured, and a quantum window opened, showing the Prometheus in all its glory. Well, they're somewhat more impressive. The Luminarch recoiled, their crystalline forms vibrating with shock. Impossible. Xerxes breathed. This level of advancement is exactly why we chose to hide it. Admiral Chen's voice filled the room as his hologram materialized. We've watched how the Luminarch collective treats civilizations they deem worthy of uplifting. How many species have you subjugated under the guise of guidance? Xerxes' form pulsed with barely contained rage. You have no idea what forces you're dealing with. The collective will not tolerate this deception. No, Elena agreed, her hand resting on a quantum pistol that hadn't been visible moments before. You won't, because it proves that everything the collective believes about technological progression is wrong. We achieved this on our own, without your precious guidance, and that terrifies you. The room crackled with tension as both sides realized there was no going back. Humanity had revealed its hand, and the Luminarch's benevolent mask had cracked to reveal the imperialism beneath. Your fleet remains in our solar system, Elena continued, her voice level. You have two options, High Ambassador. You can accept that humanity is your equal and open, genuine diplomatic relations, or, Xerxes' voice was deadly quiet. Or you can test your might against a species that has spent generations preparing for this very moment. The choice is yours. The quantum barriers hummed as both sides waited to see who would make the next move. Humanity had hidden in plain sight for decades, building its strength, developing technologies that the Luminarch had never imagined possible. Now, they stood ready to defend their independence, their right to forge their own path among the stars. The game of deception was over. The real test of humanity's strength was about to begin. Battle for Sol. The void between Mars and Earth erupted in a display of power that turned night to day across half the solar system. The Luminarch fleet, its crystalline ships now reconfigured into deadly geometries, launched the first strike. Lances of coherent light stretched across space, targeting what they believed to be Earth's vital defense infrastructure. Captain Elena Martinez watched from the Prometheus's bridge as the enemy fire passed harmlessly through holographic projections. Status of the quantum grid. Fully operational, Captain, Lieutenant Chen reported. The enemy fleet is exactly where we want them. The Luminarch had taken Xerxes' report of human deception as an attack on their very ideology. Their response was swift and brutal, or would have been, had they been fighting the primitive civilization they expected. All ships, execute Operation Labyrinth, Elena commanded through the fleet-wide quantum network. Across the solar system, humanity's hidden forces emerged from their quantum shadows. The Prometheus was not alone, far from it. From the rings of Saturn, 12 vessels of similar scale emerged, their hulls incorporating technology that the Luminarch had never encountered. From the asteroid belt, swarms of autonomous defense platforms activated. And from deep within Mars, humanity's greatest weapon stirred to life. High Ambassador Xerxes' voice cut through their communications. You cannot hope to stand against us. The collective has subjugated species far older than yours. Surrender now, and perhaps we will be merciful. Elena's response was action, not words. Activate the quantum fold drives. Show them what humanity has achieved. Space itself seemed to ripple as the human fleet engaged their most closely guarded secret. The quantum fold drive didn't just move through space. It manipulated the very fabric of reality. The Luminarch watched in horror as human ships seemed to exist in multiple places simultaneously, their weapons firing from impossible angles. Impossible. Xerxes' voice carried genuine fear now. These principles violate fundamental laws of physics. Your laws, Elena corrected, as the Prometheus executed a maneuver that brought it simultaneously above and below the Luminarch flagship, not ours. The battle that followed would be remembered for generations. The Luminarch's superior numbers and conventional technology clashed against humanity's revolutionary understanding of quantum mechanics. Their crystalline ships, beautiful but predictable, found themselves caught in an ever-shifting maze of quantum possibilities. Multiple Luminarch vessels attempting to retreat, Chen reported. They're trying to regroup near Deimos. Elena nodded, just as expected. Dr. Patel, activate the Mars Defense Network. The surface of Mars shimmered as countless quantum generators activated. The Luminarch fleet found themselves caught in a web of intersecting fields, their advanced drives struggling against principles they didn't understand. Your species is an aberration. Xerxes broadcast, his words carrying both rage and fear. You've developed technologies without proper guidance, without understanding the responsibilities that come with such power. We understand responsibility perfectly, Elena responded, watching as human ships systematically disabled the trapped Luminarch vessels. That's why we hid our true capabilities. We watched how you guided other civilizations, stripped them of their independence, molded them into puppet states. We chose a different path. The Prometheus's quantum weapons found their mark, shattering the crystalline structure of the Luminarch flagship's engines. Similar scenes played out across the battlefield as humanity's hidden fleet demonstrated their superiority not through brute force, but through fundamental understanding of physics that the Luminarch had never imagined possible. A remarkable display. A new voice cut through the chaos. A massive vessel rippled into existence at the edge of the battlefield, its design unlike either human or Luminarch construction. Perhaps there is hope for this cycle after all. Elena's tactical display identified the newcomer. The Nexus, a legendary vessel belonging to the Guardians, an ancient species that the Luminarch had claimed were merely myths. Their arrival changed everything. The collective's monopoly on advanced technology ends today. The Guardian vessel broadcasted. Humanity has proven that multiple paths to advancement exist. The age of forced guidance is over. As the Guardian ship moved to interpose itself between the combatants, Elena realized that humanity's victory today wasn't just about defending their independence. They had shattered a galactic paradigm that had persisted for millennia. The Luminarch's belief in their divine right to guide younger species lay in ruins, destroyed not by superior firepower, but by humanity's proof that their entire philosophy was fundamentally flawed. The battle for Sol would be remembered not just as humanity's debut on the galactic stage, but as the moment when the stars themselves witnessed the birth of a new era, one where civilization's right to self-determination would be protected by those who had achieved greatness on their own terms. The Great Revelation. The Guardian vessel Nexus dwarfed both human and Luminarch ships, its ancient hull decorated with patterns that seemed to shift and flow like living mathematics. Elena stood in its central chamber, surrounded by holographic displays that made the Prometheus's advanced systems look primitive in comparison. "Your species intrigues us, Captain Martinez," the Guardian representative spoke. Their form was energy contained within a crystalline matrix, far more advanced than the Luminarch's attempts at energy-based existence. Few have achieved quantum manipulation without guidance. Fewer still had the wisdom to hide it. Elena studied the being before her, noting how the other members of her delegation, Dr. Patel, Admiral Chen's hologram, and even the subdued High Ambassador Xerxes, seemed equally captivated. We had good reason to be cautious. The Luminarch's history of uplifting spoke for itself. Indeed, the Guardian's form pulsed with what might have been amusement, but that is not why we intervened. We have been watching humanity for far longer than you imagine. Your quantum technology, it is not entirely of your own making. Aisha Patel stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding protocol. What do you mean? The chamber's displays shifted, showing DNA strands that morphed into quantum equations. Your species carries within it the seeds of greatness, quite literally. Long ago, when the previous galactic civilization faced extinction, they did not merely vanish. They seeded countless worlds with their knowledge, encoded into the very genetic structure of promising species. Impossible. Xerxes interrupted, his crystalline form vibrating with denial. The predecessors are a myth. The Luminarch collective is built on incomplete understanding. The Guardian finished. You found fragments of their technology and assumed you were meant to guide others to it. But humanity. The displays zoomed in on human DNA, highlighting patterns that pulsed with quantum energy. Humanity carried within them the full legacy of the predecessors. Your intuitive understanding of quantum mechanics isn't just scientific advancement, it's genetic memory awakening. Elena felt the weight of this revelation settle over the chamber. The quantum fold drive, she said slowly. When we developed it, it felt natural. like we were remembering something rather than inventing it. Precisely. A guardian gestured, and new displays appeared, showing ancient structures hidden throughout the galaxy. The predecessors didn't want their knowledge given freely. They wanted it earned, rediscovered by species who would understand its true value. The Luminarch found their tools, but not their wisdom. Humanity found both. Admiral Chen's hologram stepped forward. If what you're saying is true, then humanity's achievements are entirely your own, the Guardian assured them. The genetic markers merely guided your intuition. Every discovery, every innovation, came from human ingenuity. You simply had, let's call it, an inherited affinity for certain universal truths. Dr. Patel was already working on her quantum tablet, her eyes wide with revelation. The patterns in our quantum equations, they match these genetic markers perfectly. We've been unconsciously following the predecessor's framework all along. The Guardian's form brightened. And now you are ready for the next step. There are installations throughout the galaxy, left by the predecessors, waiting for those who understand quantum manipulation at the genetic level. Humanity has proven itself worthy of this legacy. Xerxes moved forward, his hostility replaced by something closer to awe. All this time, we thought we were the chosen inheritors of advanced knowledge. But we were merely finding scraps, while humanity carried the full library within them. The Guardian finished. The Luminarch Collective's philosophy of guidance wasn't entirely wrong. Xerxes, you simply didn't understand what true guidance looked like. It isn't about control or subjugation. It's about awakening potential that already exists. Elena felt a shift in the room's energy as understanding dawned. The predecessors, they weren't just leaving us technology, were they? This was a test. They wanted to see which species would develop the wisdom to use their knowledge responsibly. And by hiding your achievements, by choosing to defend rather than dominate, humanity passed that test. The Guardian's form expanded, filling the chamber with shifting patterns of light. Now you face a choice. The predecessor installations contain knowledge far beyond even what you've achieved. But accessing them will change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Admiral Chen's hologram flickered thoughtfully. The responsibility that comes with such power. This is exactly why we chose to hide our capabilities in the first place. Perhaps, Elena said slowly, that's exactly why we're the right species to handle it. We've proven we can advance without conquering, develop without dominating. The Guardian seemed to smile, though its featureless form made it hard to tell. And that, Captain Martinez, is exactly why the predecessors chose humanity. The question now is, are you ready to help reshape the galaxy? Not as conquerors or uplifters, but as guardians of knowledge, ensuring that every species has the chance to develop their own potential naturally. As Elena looked around the chamber, seeing the mix of hope and determination on her colleagues' faces, even Xerxes seemed transformed by the revelation. She knew humanity stood at a turning point. They had hidden their light from the galaxy out of necessity. Now perhaps it was time to let it shine, not to dominate, but to illuminate the path for others. Legacy of Stars. 1 year after the Battle of Sol, the galactic landscape had transformed beyond recognition. The Prometheus hovered near the edge of human space, its quantum sensors monitoring the activation of another predecessor installation. Through the bridge's main viewport, Elena watched as ancient machinery awakened from millennia of dormancy, its crystalline spires pulsing with quantum energy. Installation Alpha 7 is coming online, Dr. Petal reported, her hands dancing over quantum interfaces. The genetic key was accepted. We now have access to another piece of the predecessor network. Helena nodded, remembering the journey that had brought them here. After the revelation of humanity's inherited legacy, the galaxy had experienced profound changes. The Luminarch Collective, humbled by the truth about their own limited understanding, had undergone a radical transformation under Xerxes' surprising leadership. Message from the collective diplomatic fleet, Lieutenant Chen announced. They're requesting permission to observe the activation ceremony. Granted, Elena commanded. They've earned that right. The past year had seen the Luminarch transform from would-be conquerors to eager students. Xerxes had led the charge, admitting to his people that their entire civilization had been built on a fundamental misunderstanding of the predecessor's intentions. 3 Luminarch vessels shimmered into existence nearby, their once rigid crystalline structures now incorporating elements of human quantum architecture, a visible symbol of the new cooperation between their species. Remarkable. Xerxes' voice came through as his hologram appeared on the bridge. His form had changed too, becoming less artificially perfect and more naturally dynamic. Another piece of the great puzzle awakens. We are honored to witness it. Elena smiled at the genuine humility in his voice. The honor is shared, High Ambassador. Your people's expertise in crystal matrices has proven invaluable in decoding the predecessor archives. The installation's spires pulsed brighter, and new holographic displays materialized across the bridge. Dr. Patel gasped as she began translating the data. Captain, this installation, it's different from the others. It contains information about the predecessors themselves, about why they left. The Guardian vessel Nexus appeared silently beside them, its ancient hull reflecting the installation's light. The time has come, the Guardian representative announced, materializing on the bridge. Humanity has proven worthy of the final truth. The installation's displays shifted, showing images of beings that defied conventional understanding, entities that existed simultaneously in multiple quantum states, their consciousness spread across dimensions. The predecessors didn't vanish, the Guardian explained. They evolved. When they reached the limits of physical existence, they found a way to transcend it. The knowledge they left behind wasn't just technology. It was a roadmap for other species to follow their path. But only, Elena realized, if they developed the wisdom to handle it responsibly. Precisely. The Guardian's form pulsed with approval. The Luminarch found tools but missed the wisdom. Humanity found both, encoded in their very beings. And now, together, you can help guide the galaxy's younger species toward their own potential. Admiral Chen's hologram appeared, his expression thoughtful, not through control or domination, but through example and opportunity. Xerxes finished, surprising everyone with his passionate agreement. My people were wrong to force advancement on others. True progress must come from within. The installation's light reached a crescendo, and new information flooded their quantum networks. Knowledge about consciousness transfer, dimensional transcendence, and concepts that pushed the boundaries of understanding. But more importantly, it contained wisdom about how to use such knowledge responsibly. This is why the predecessors chose humanity, the Guardian said softly. Not because you were perfect, but because you understood the importance of choice, of letting each species find their own path while still being ready to help when asked. Elena looked out at the assembled ships, human, Luminarch, and Guardian, and saw the future taking shape. So what happens now? Now, the Guardian's form expanded, encompassing them all. You help us establish the new order. Not an empire or a collective, but a true federation of equals, each species advancing at their own pace, with access to knowledge when they're ready for it. The Legacy Protocol, Dr. Patel suggested, studying the installation's data, a framework for responsible advancement, protecting young civilizations while ensuring they have the freedom to develop naturally. Xerxes moved forward, his crystalline form resonating with purpose. The Luminarch Collective pledges itself to this cause. We will transform from controllers to counselors, sharing our knowledge only with those who seek it. As the installation's light stabilized, Elena felt the weight of the moment. Humanity had hidden in the shadows, developing in secret to protect themselves. Now they would step into the light, not as conquerors or uplifters, but as guardians of possibility. They would help forge a galaxy where every species had the chance to reach for the stars in their own way, at their own pace. Send word to Earth, she commanded. The Legacy Protocol is now in effect. Let's show the galaxy what true guidance looks like. The assembled ships began their journey home, leaving the activated installation as a beacon of hope in the darkness. The age of forced advancement was over. The era of chosen potential had begun. Humanity had found its place among the stars not by dominating them, but by helping them shine brighter. In the vast expanse of space, the predecessor's legacy lived on through those who understood that the greatest power wasn't in controlling knowledge, but in sharing it wisely. The future would be built not on subjugation, but on choice, and humanity would help light the way, one star at a time.